spots you had?
I'm coming up on
On the what? Broadway? Okay. Okay, Sonny. Probably about 5 minutes away.
Yeah,
So yeah,
cool.
we'll start.
Okay. Let me get these guys in the room. Johnny said we'll start right on the hour, so we got a minute or two. Yes.
Johnny, you want water? You got some?
Sorry?
Water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't mind. Yeah. Next shot, Steve.
No talk. And then talk.
So we're gonna start on the hour. So we have 2 minutes.
Okay. You want me to sit out here?
Yeah, for now, just in case Sunny's a little taller,
Okay.
shorter. And then the only thing you'll have to do on that camera is just hit this guy below. Because that's how you'll adjust it, you know, for it. Just tilt it.
Just come here.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. All right. We're gonna push this. I'll let you hit that.
The Radio Guys podcast powered by AA Best Bail Bonds at 210-225-2121. Oficinas throughout San Antonio open 24/7. Stress-free bail bonds at 210-225-2121.
They call me the radio guy. I play Tejano music, it's my high.
The Radio Guys Podcast, bringing the Texas lifestyle to life. Nuestra música, nuestra cultura, nuestra tradición. Topics that affect and reflect who we are, whether you live in the Lone Star State, the 49 other states, or anywhere in the world. So welcome, everyone, to the only Tejano State of Mind podcast. And now, here are the Radio Guys, Jonny Ramirez and Mico Rodriguez.
Well, welcome everybody. Muy buenas noches. Bienvenidos, the Radio Guys podcast. As you can tell, I'm flying solo this evening, flying without a net, but that's okay. Mico's doing his husbandly duties and working, providing for his family. Actually, I saw a post earlier on Facebook. The sucker was playing golf, so that's how he works. He plays golf with his customers. But that's okay. Welcome again to the Radio Guys podcast. Tonight, a very special guest, and he is en route. San Antonio traffic gets bad right about now, and if you've ever been on 410 headed west, it's pretty much a parking lot, or at least it was when I was coming in, so we will wait for him patiently. In the meantime, though, bienvenidos again, the Radio Guys podcast. There is a ton of podcasts out there about Tejano and Tejano music, so we appreciate you giving us a shot, allowing us to come into your homes. Maybe you're checking us out on the phone. Don't make no lianza, pero gracias sinceramente. 2025 is going to be a great year for the Radio Guys podcast. If it is for your civic organization, your church, your group, and you've got an event coming up here in the spring, maybe in the summer, in the fall, let us know. Just send all the information to info@theradioguyspc.com. That's info@theradioguyspc.com. And again, thank you so very much for joining us. It's going to be a great night. For those of you that are old school like me, you're going to love it. 1971, 1972, a good friend of mine later became a compadre, and paz descanse, passed away a few years ago, but he used to have this screened-in porch in McAllen. And, hey, it was the late 60s, early 70s, so there was black lights and posters all over the house, and we used to sit there and listen to everything from Hendrix to the Stones to the Beatles to, believe it or not, the Latin Breed, the Royal Jesters. Man, so many great artists. And this guy started out doing English. Matter of fact, we'll talk to him when he gets in. Was one of the two that I can say that, you know, the Tejano Onda claims him, was one of the two that made made the trip to Pennsylvania and on American Bandstand with Dick Clark. And we'll get him to tell us a story about that. But I'm real excited about having him here tonight. In the meantime, though, this podcast being brought to you as a service of AA Best Bail Bonds 24/7, no matter where in the city you are. They've got oficinas throughout. But if you get in a situation where all of a sudden, you know, you do the cuffs and you're sitting in the backseat of a patrol car, do yourself a favor, do everybody a favor, and call this number, 210-225-2121. Nobody beats their price. Payment plans available, and they've got a shuttle service. Discretion, the name of the game. Sometimes parties get a little crazy, and you wake up and you're half clothed, and you're going, "What the heck happened?" But you're you're in a holding cell because you were arrested. You don't even know it. 210-225-2121. Make the call. Memorize the number, because if you're in that holding cell, you ain't going to have your cell phone. So it's 210-225-2121. Oficinas throughout San Antonio, and no matter where in the Lone Star State you are, it could be Dallas, it could be Houston, El Chuco Town, El Paso, maybe in El Mágico Valle. They will get you out. Our good friend Albert, his great staff at AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121. License number 149. That's 210-225-2121. Tell them you heard it here on the Radio Guys podcast, and they will definitely take care of you. All right. As I said, we're waiting on our guest to come in because he did call me, and he's running late, stuck in traffic. But San Antonio gets a little crazy, and I don't know if you've been to San Antonio lately. The one thing that you might hate, that in all the years, because I've been here since 1993, but it seems that every major interstate has got construction. It doesn't matter if you're on 1604, on 410, on I-10, on Loop 90. They're all under construction at some point in time. And 35 is really, really bad. 410 gets really bad because there's construction further out towards the west. 1604, pues no se diga. That thing is a parking lot every so often. And just had the exciting Final Four here, and there was a lot of people in town, and I bet you they did not appreciate the construction. Coming up, we've got Fiesta that is coming. It starts later on this month. I do want to tell everybody that, not sure if you've heard, Roberto Pulido, Bobby Pulido, their farewell tour, La Puerta Grande. If you're familiar with the Matadors, when they left successfully, they would walk out through the big door. If they weren't successful, obviously they wouldn't walk out through the big door. They'd get carried out. But Roberto and Bobby walking out through the big door at the end of this year. Roberto, for obvious reasons, been doing his thing for over 60 years. Bobby has decided to get into the political arena, and I'm sure he'll mention to everybody where and, where he's going to run, what he's going to run for, all that kind of stuff. But they're coming to the Techport Arena, the Techport Center, the 25th of this month, which is a Friday. If you'd like tickets, I understand there's still some good seats available, but they're going quick. It's etix.com, etix.com. Roberto and Bobby Pulido together for one night and one night only. He's already started, they're going to be in El Paso, or they were in El Paso, in the Valley. He's got dates all over the place. Obviously, the Dallas-Fort Worth area is already dated, slated, so they're all over the place. But the one in San Antonio, is set for the 25th, which is a Friday. And again, it's etix.com. Roberto and Bobby Pulido together for one night. Final night that you'll be able to hear Desvelado and all those great Bobby Pulido songs. Y el primazo, pues, you know, his list is about as long as my hair is. So it's going to be a great evening at the Techport Center aquí en San Antonio. All right. Oh, and yes, Fiesta. Tejano Explosion. Got everybody from Jay Perez to, let's see, Jay Perez. I know we got Mike and the Iconics, Chente Barrera, Marcos Orozco, Grupo Rebelde, AJ Castillo, David Farias y La Tropa F. The list is long, and it's 7 nights, I believe, and it's just jam-packed con Onda Tejana, and obviously on the weekends they have Conjunto, puro squeeze box para que le arrasquen y le zapateen right there at Tejano Explosion, 700 West Houston, which is basically right across the street from Market Square. So should be some fun times. Market Square, obviously, La Feria de los Reyes. So everything is going to be popping here at the end of the month. And another great show for those of you in El Mágico Valle, or if you want to make the trip, South Padre Island, Easter Sunday. We're talking Intocable is headlining, but they also have Secreto, they've got Signo, and they've got David Lee Garza y Los Musicales at the South Padre Island Convention Center. Should be a great time there. And, man, talk about sand, surf, little bikini action for you ladies. I'm sure, you know, some. So it should be a great Sunday, Easter Sunday on South Padre Island. Sand, surf, sun, and Tejano music. That's what I'm talking about right there. All right, as we wait for Mr. Sunny Ozuna, who is walking this way as I speak. Sunny Ozuna, singer, songwriter, musical trailblazer. And Sunny, primero que todo, it is an honor, sir, to have you here tonight. I always have fun with you on the radio, so we're going to have fun here tonight because we don't have to worry about a stupid commercial or a song. Yeah. And I say stupid, but they pay the bills when you're on the radio, ¿verdad?
Right, sure does. It sure does, yeah.
But we don't have to worry about any of that. Is it Ildefonso Fraga Osana? Did I pronounce that right?
No, it's Ildefonso.
Ildefonso.
And I don't use Fraga because it's my mother's maiden name.
Right.
But they put it on my very first driver's license I ever got. And, man, I played help like for maybe 4 or 5 years before I got this thing taken off my driver's license.
Ildefonso Fraga Osuna.
Right.
That was your birth name.
Well, because I used to use that back in the day.
Okay.
The mom's maiden name.
Yeah.
But Ozuna is my last name.
Yeah. All right. Sunny Ozuna, when did you change it? When you got into the music business or?
Yeah. About the time, as soon as I got to high school and little by little we were messing with doo-wop because it was during the doo-wop time. I call it my Anda time because it was Little Anthony Anda. Danny Anda.
Yeah.
So I knew that at one time or another I was going to wind up in Inda.
So it was Danny and the Juniors, Little Anthony and the Imperials, Sunny Ozuna and the Sunliners. Man, okay, so we're going to have some fun here tonight. We got a lot to talk about. I just kind of mentioned it briefly, but I believe just you and Rene made it to American Bandstand, right?
That's right. Of the local guys.
The local guys. Yeah, of the local guys, Texas, San Antonio area guys.
Because I think Trini Lopez was ahead of us.
Right, Trini Lopez.
And maybe, I don't know.
Sam the Sham.
Sam the Sham and Freddie Fender, no?
Yes,
no.
Freddie Fender, I believe he did. And Sam the Sham did también. There was a lot of Latinos that made it, but from Texas, from the San Antonio area, it was just you and Rene.
Right. That's who it is.
Were you first or was Rene first?
I believe I was there first.
Okay. All right. And the year was?
1963, February of 63.
So, wow. So, because you basically started in 59, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So 4 years after, you were already blown and going and making American Bandstand, huh?
Well, what happened is that we were slowly just messing around with the music and wanted to get like every young teenager at the time, I should say that we used to kill ourselves running from school back to the house just to catch American Bandstand on the TV.
Yeah.
Never ever thinking that one day you would be on there.
Yeah, because back in the day, it was actually on Monday through Friday in the afternoons,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's what we did. We just kind of like emulated everything we were seeing on TV as teenagers, and that's how I slowly kind of squeezed myself into the music business. Yeah.
And so your first hit, wasn't Put Me in Jail, it wasn't Talk to Me, it was another one, right?
Yes, it was the very first song I ever wrote was a song called Just a Moment.
Okay.
And then after that was Golly Gee. So everybody thinks that Golly Gee was a little bigger song until Talk to Me came.
Okay. All right. So you've got this big hit on your hand.
Right.
Talk to Me.
Right.
And you get a call. Your manager gets a call. How does it happen that a little kid, and I say a little kid because you were, 18, 19. How does a little kid from San Antonio make it all the way to Philadelphia to, American Bandstand?
Okay. Well, we started playing when we first put together. My first little group I ever had we named it Sunny and the Sun Glows.
Right.
So we were, as Sunny and the Sun Glows, we started playing New Brunswick, Seguin, and around here. Our big town was going to be Houston. So wow, look out. Here we come. So when we got to Houston, on my third time that I played there, this gentleman walked in and he introduced himself right as soon as I got off the bandstand that night. He says, "Look, my name is Huey Mo." He says, "I'm a record producer, and I've already heard your song or Talk to Me. It's getting a little bit of airplay on the top 40 stations. Almost everywhere I go in my travels, it's slowly growing and growing and growing. And I'm interested in getting the song and running with it. By the way, I was the one that busted Rock the Boat with the Hughes
Corporation, yeah.
And Freddie Fender's Wasted Days and Wasted Nights. Well, that was enough for me right there.
So this guy was going to be your national distributor, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how Huey Mo had the connections for being one of these record producers that everybody was always keeping their eye on because he was lucky enough that he stumbled on these songs.
Right.
I mean, a lot of other songs that I couldn't even begin to tell you that he actually was responsible for the initial kickoff for that group or that artist because he had the ability to hook himself with national companies that would have nationwide distribution.
Right. And then obviously the contacts that he'd made because of the songs that he'd brought him, everybody probably wanted to know what's your next big hit.
That's right.
Big hit,
That's
yeah.
right.
What you got.
Yeah, and he kept saying that, man, they're always asking me, what you got, Huey? What you got, Huey? And so, well, I got, I picked this up or picked that up. And of course, they would pay attention to him because of the record he was slowly building behind.
Right. Okay. So now all of a sudden, you're getting distributed nationwide. Your song makes the Billboard charts.
Right.
And that is one of the charts that Mr. American Bandstand himself used to use a lot.
Right.
Did they call the manager? Did they call Huey? How did?
I think the people with Dick Clark's people called Huey Mo. And it says, look, man, we've been seeing what's going on with the charts. You remember back in the day, the big thing was to get on Billboard and Cashbox magazines because they were the Bibles of what is going on across the whole country on top 40 radios.
Well, see, and now we don't have anything like that in radio, Sonny. Nothing. So, I mean, nobody knows who's playing what. And for the most part, a lot of the younger artists are just doing their social media thing. And so you can't really rely on, is that really number one? Because Cashbox, Billboard, and a couple of other people actually knew how many times you got played at every radio station.
That's right. And it makes it so hard because as a young artist, now where do you go?
Right.
I mean, even though you might hook up with someone that does a lot of fast talking and all that, But now, because of things have changed so much through the years, the fast talking don't really help you that much more.
No.
Not in big time radio stations. No. you want an interview? Let me see if I can schedule you a month from now.
Yeah.
When you remember your day, man, we could say, "Hey, Johnny, man, can I come over? Hey, come on over, man.
Come on over, man.
I'll get you on as soon as you get here."
I don't care. Come on over. It's like, really? Yeah, come on over, man.
No, those days are gone, man.
Yeah.
Those days are gone.
Well, and so many things are gone, but that's a different topic for a different day. Right now, we just want to celebrate Sunny Ozuna.
Thank you.
And, man, talk about, and so I was before you got here, I was telling this story about this house that we used to, hang out in McAllen.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a closed-in, just a little patio in the back,
Right.
And so, but we put tarps on it because in the winter we'd get butt-ass cold. So then we had posters and black lights and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd listen to Jimi Hendrix and, The Who and Santana. And then all of a sudden salía el monito de chocolate. Cariñito, ¿qué pasó? No estés llorando. What a great song. All those, Sunny Ozuna albums.
Right.
And so back in the day, our social network was that there was like 6 or 7 of us, and we'd all either bring an album or 2 45s on any given night. Preferably Friday, because we didn't have to go to school, and our moms would allow us to stay out till 10, right?
Nice.
Before they go, Juan Angel! They yell out the door, and I'm going, oh, crap, I got to go home. Nonetheless, and so we'd sit there, and we'd all spin the music that we had brought.
Yeah.
So everybody would bring in, like Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Chicago, Santana, and I would always bring in Tejano,
Right.
Sunny Ozuna, Little Joe, and back then andaba Johnny Canales con orquesta, Agustin Ramirez. Everybody had the big orchestras.
Yeah.
So they would look at me and they go, "Why are you always bringing this?" I'm going, "Because it's a part of who we are. Don't tell me you don't like Sunny Ozuna."
It's
and
my
they,
culture.
Yeah,
Man.
and they were going, "Okay, did you bring El Monito de Chocolate?" I'm like, "Come on, I got to bring that." So we'd always sit down and would share our music, and that's how we got, ourselves.
That must have been fun, man.
It was a good time. There was. I wish I could say we sat around and drank beer, but we were in junior high, man.
Yeah. We hadn't gotten to that stage yet, right?
No. Nowadays it's a different story, but back then, we'd get a whooping, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
So that was it. But yeah, man, and then unbeknownst to them, one time I brought Talk to Me,
Right.
and they're going. I said, "Well, here's Sunny Ozuna in a different setting," and they're going. He sang English. I'm going, man, this guy's great. He sings whatever the hell he wants, man. He just give him a note.
Yeah.
So back then, Sunny Ozuna, the Sunglows, the Sunliners. I love this story that you say because, I mean, again, we get back to where times have changed. Now you're seeing some of the bands dress, the same, whether it's country or whatever. I've seen a couple of guys in suits. But back in the day, and you said that word, you used to emulate. Little Anthony and the Imperials,
Right,
everybody, they
right.
would be suited up with ties, everything.
Yeah.
That's how Sunny Ozuna started out.
That's right.
Everybody-
and kind of he stayed that way. As a matter of fact, I'm doing so many shows. You wouldn't believe how many up and down the West Coast. And believe it or not,
It's coming back.
to confirm what you're saying, 75 to 80% of them are still dressing. You're talking about the Delphonics, the Shy Lights, Little Anthony. All these guys are all. I work with them all the time,
Stylistics,
and they all still in their nice clothes, doing their steps and all that. Kind of
Well,
stuff.
hey, you don't look too shabby yourself. I'm like, watch out nomás, Sunny Ozuna. Todo dapper.
No. I saw an article one time on. There was a magazine that we used to all love. I'll tell you in a minute what the name of it was. But it was a magazine that came out, and I don't know if you remember, but it had nothing but artists there performing, and you could see what they look like, and then they'd have maybe a song with all the lyrics of My Girl, and then they'd show you some pictures of the Temptations and things like that. And so to me, I saw an article one day I'll never forget, and I've carried it all my life. I saw the Temptations in an written interview in that magazine saying, "Well, what do you owe your success to?" He says, how do you
Two
put
words,
yourself
Barry
together?"
Gordy.
Yeah, right, Barry Gordy. Now, he said, well, I'll tell you what, the way we think. He says, look, 50% of my performance is how I look.
Yeah.
Now, if I have a bad day, and bad day, and I do 25 as a performance, I've got 75. I'm doing pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I have a good night, man, and I do a 50% there and a 50% in the way I look, boom, it's a done deal.
Well, see, back then, part of the show was the way you looked and the little dancing that you did.
Right.
Nowadays, the show is like pyros and, screens in the back and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, so leave all that out. Just give me the music, because that's really what's going to tell me if you're a good performer. Is what's the quality of your music, the lyrics, the songwriting, the music, the everything.
Yeah, it lets the song kind of unwrap itself, so you can see what it's about and what the guy's trying to say.
Yeah,
you understand the emotion behind it. The dress to me is still kind of to me, I feel like I really have to keep doing it. And here lately, the last year or two, it seems like everybody's kind of looking and saying, Sonny's been doing this a long time, man. Maybe we're missing a little something. Because now I'm starting to see, slowly but surely, everybody else kind of back.
Yeah.
But they're also, like you say, the main concern, the main thing to the whole idea is the deliverance of the song and what it's saying, the message.
Because when they got pyros and everything, I'm going, so if you got all this as a show and the screens, how good is the music going to be? Because are you trying to throw me off by...
so I won't listen how bad you are?
Right. But that's just me personally, okay? That's my personal opinion. But, okay, so you were so, excuse the word, you were so anal back in the day that if one of your band members wasn't wearing the same color handkerchief that was supposed to be wearing that night, what would you do to that band member, Sonny?
He would get fined, man.
How much?
It all depends on where we were, how much we were making that I think he could afford. I gotta tell you one little thing. A guy comes through, so sincere and so cool, and he says, "Man, he says, Sonny, man, I know how we are, and man, believe me, I'm being real sincere about this. I know the rules and stuff." He said, "Man, I just brought this. I wasn't thinking. I just bought these brand new Stacy's, man, but they're brown, man. You think you could let me slide?"
What was the color of the night?
Black.
Black.
Yeah, it was black. And I said, "Well, man, But rules are rules, man. And if everybody else took the time to get their black shoes on and go through all the changes, you think you've been through a lot of changes to get here, and you still keep in your brown shoes. I would advise that those shoes become black before you walk on stage." And they never forgot that, man. They never forgot that. And another one was...
Did he actually dye the brown shoes black?
Yeah. Can you imagine ruining a good pair of shoes? Back there,
Stacy's, okay? And there were Stacy's. Come on, Sonny.
Yeah, no,
You're
man.
killing me,
but
man.
the fine was probably $175. So I guess he felt, well, I'm gonna save $25. Now, it still says Stacy's. They're just black now.
They're black.
The other one that stayed with me all that time was it happened with a handkerchief one night, and it says, "Man, some chick walked up, man, last night at the show, man. Just out of nowhere, took my handkerchief, man. Took my handkerchief, and now here I am. Here we are today. What do I do, Sonny?" And I said, "Well, the only I'll be real serious with you, man. If you want to avoid the fine, man, take off your socks." So that's what he did. Took the sock, and I remember him fixing it until it looked like a real thing. Okay, yeah.
Wait. So the socks and the handkerchief were the same color?
The same color.
Okay.
That's all it meant. And nobody's going to be looking at my shoe down here, right? So he took his sock.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh,
that's funny.
Yeah. Well, of course, then you have to understand we're talking fines here.
Yeah. And I mean, $1.75 was, what would be the equivalent now? And what year was that?
Oh, shoot. This one must have been around 65, 66.
So it's probably about $30-$40 nowadays, right?
At least. I'd give up my socks in a minute.
Well, so I take off my socks de volada. So, okay. So you go through this. So you're at American Bandstand, and obviously it was just you. It wasn't the Sunglows. It was just you that made the trip, correct?
Huey, Mo, and myself. Yeah.
Okay. And before he tells the story, I need to preface it by telling everybody that we're spoiled rotten because we have a gazillion trillion channels now on TV, right? And back then, I have to tell you, I'm from the Rio Grande Valley. We had two channels, Channel 4 and Channel 5, okay? Channel 5 was ABC and ABC and NBC. It was split. And Channel 4 was CBS all the time. But Channel 5 was split. Here in San Antonio, did you have 3 or 2?
We had 3.
Okay, so you had ABC, NBC, and CBS.
Right.
Okay. So that said, tell us a story about your appearance on the Tonight Show with on American Bandstand with Mr. Dick Clark.
Well, when Huey Mo got the call, he says, "Look, man, we're going to be going up to Philly, and we're going to be filming the Dick Clark wants us to do the song." And I said, "Okay." He says, "The only other thing I'm going to do, I'll just give you a little heads up, is that their custom up there is that they have these other record hops going on the night before and the day of, coincidentally, of the program. So we're going to go in on a Friday, and then I'm just going to hop you from different places in and out real quick. You go in, you pantomime, talk to me. Thank you, Gabe. Thank you so much for inviting me, blah-blah, and we go to the next one."
Okay.
So we did like 3 or 4 of those for the 2 nights, and then came the show. When we went to the show, first of all, my first thing was that I thought Dick Clark was, pretty tall. He's shorter than I am.
Oh, yeah, he's short. He's short.
But he was up on that podium.
And the podium,
with
they
that
always shot.
spearmint or whatever.
And they shot lower, right?
Yeah. You knew he owned Dr. Pepper and spearmint gum.
I did not know that.
I did not
I
know
did
that.
not know that. Yeah.
But I remember they were his sponsors.
Okay.
So, I mean, he's selling that out the back door, right? But what happened is that, which was kind of funny to me, but of course, as a teenager, was that we filmed our segment, but because we're trying to save money on the cameras, they would, what we saw as teenagers on the television was that the kids were like, "Wow, look at all those kids, man. Wow." And to be there and for every show, man, must be really great. They actually took a tape from the corner up to make a corner in the center, and then make the tape go back to the other wall, and they would jam them. Don't dance outside that little
So they had
square.
all the kids
the
in 2
cameras
little
would
corners.
Say, "Look
Okay.
at all these kids." And I cracked up when I saw that. And of course, because Dick Clark was shorter than I was, and I kind of felt good about that. The other one was that I did Bobby Bear, "I Want to Go Home."
Yeah.
Dale and Grace, "I'm Leaving It All Up to You," and Gene Pitney. So what they would do to save on the camera expense was that the kids would do their thing with Gene Pitney and "I Want to Go Home."
Okay.
Bobby Bear.
Bobby Bear, yeah.
And then they have 20 minutes to change clothes among themselves so it would look different.
Right.
So they would change clothes, and then, okay, we're ready to go. And
They would
set
shoot
it all up.
multiple shows in one day. Yeah.
In one day, one after another. I'd never seen that done
Yeah.
before, too. So I was, wow, this is really cool. And then Dale and Grace and I did the other one, and then it was over. But that was, I guess, the way. All I can think of was save on camera.
Yeah. Well, and they still do that, especially on game shows.
Oh, is that
They'll shoot
right?
2, 3
Is that
game
right?
show in one day.
In one day?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
so,
wow.
especially like Family Feud and all those $1,000 pyramid, or 100,000, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still shoot multiple shows in one
wow.
day. Yeah.
Wow.
And they get them out of the way, and sometimes in 1 week, they've done 20 shows maybe, whatever it is. But yeah, they still do that a lot. Okay. So, boom, you're done with your show.
Right?
You go back to the Philly airport and you're headed back to San Antonio, right? Okay. And you're stoked. You're excited.
Yeah. Okay. But let me tell you what kind of discouraged me a little bit. I'm a teenager, okay? So what do I know? All that I just want to be like hopefully a little rock and roll star or whatever we called him at the time. I don't know. But anyway, it didn't matter. I wanted to be Little Anthony myself, but that's okay. That's another story. But
you had the little part down.
right, that was about it. That's all I had going there. But no, what happened is that in my small mind at the time, I thought it was the Spurs, And the minute I come home from Dick Clark's American Bandstand, everybody's going to already see the program before I even got home. And everybody's the airport is going to be like, this man waiting on me on, wow, man, yeah, man, you put us on the map, that kind of stuff as a teenager.
And back then, people could actually walk up to the gate. It's not like now with,
No.
after 9/11, you need to be booked on a flight. Back then, people could meet you at the gate.
Right,
Yeah.
right. My mom and dad didn't show up. No, not only that.
That old saying que ni en su casa lo conocen, ¿verdad?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But what really happened was that, I'll never forget this. Coincidentally, when I was coming back from Philadelphia, we had to switch planes in Dallas before I came home. So when I stopped in Dallas, we used to have, I don't know if you remember because you're still a young pup, but there
Little
was
plastic chairs.
But the little chair with that thing, and they had a little television like this about the size of this.
Yeah, and you pump
could
quarters into it.
Put quarter in.
Yeah, and you'd watch a show.
So I sat there and I saw the
The show.
run of the show.
Yeah.
Except that the week before, it was a weekly show. The week before was the last show they were going to show in San Antonio of Dick Clark's American Bandstand. So all that was left was the video. But the video, remember, we didn't have cameras.
No.
We didn't, hey, let's download this or let me copy it or can I get a copy? None of that. I mean, it just did not exist. The only thing that exists was the original copy that belonged to Dick Clark. We got a hold of his people, and as teenagers, and the things were really rolling nice by then. I'll get in a minute to where Tejano fits this whole thing we're talking about. But what happened is that little by little, as we were growing, we saw the need for, wouldn't it be cool if you could shoot the backdrop of everywhere we play and have Dick Clark and do the interview and then boom, do it. So that's the way we're thinking. So we asked them what they wanted for the video. The video was $30,000 for 3 minutes.
In 1963 or 64?
Yeah. And as we kept trying to touch base with them every 5 to 7 years, see if they kind of just, because they had so many artists coming all the time that, we would be pushed further and further back and our price would go down.
Never went down.
Never went.
Never went down because they don't exist,
Yeah.
Those videos do not exist.
Well, what happened is that, I don't know if you know this, somehow we've been digging ever since. We've been digging ever since. It did get lost. Get lost.
You had me digging all week.
Is that right?
Yes, and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah. No, not at all.
I found one video with your song, and it's just the teenagers dancing. Yeah. But it is so old that it just, keeps, breaking up.
And that was Steve Krosno out of El Paso. And he had kind of a little bandstand thing going out of El Paso with all those kids dancing like that. But so they all their excuse was the very last time. The price did not go down, by the way. But then at that time, the last time that we ever talked to them, they said that coincidentally, this is a little hard to believe, Freddie Fender's original Wasted Days and Wasted Nights and Talk to Me got lost in the shuffle going from Philly to wherever they moved their program for the last few episodes.
What, even the tapes were segregated? Okay.
something. Anyway, I didn't never find mine. Somehow, I don't know, only the Lord knows how we did it, but Renee got a copy of his.
Yeah, Renee's is there. Yeah. So, okay. So you do this and you're doing, because that was a sign of the times. That's how you got your in. You were doing the doo-wop, you were doing the English stuff. When did you decide that, okay, we're going to start doing Spanish, Tejano? And it wasn't called that. It was called Tex-Mex, Onda, whatever it was called. It was,
Right.
So when did you decide you wanted to go that route? And how did Reina de mi Amor come about? Because that was your big monster hit first. Yeah.
Well, about the same time that we are kind of going through everything that we're talking about as far as teenagers and dealing with whatever little changes we were going through as teenagers, we hooked up. My best friend at the time still is Rudy Guerra. It was my high school buddy, and we were the ones that originally started Sunny and the Sunglows fresh out of high school.
Right.
And it was a 5-piece group, and just him and I, and so. But his brother was, I think he'd been maybe 12, 15 years. His name was Manuel Arguera, and he was the original drummer for the Isidro Lopez Orchestra, who all that time was on fire.
Right.
Except Manuel started to have a vision of doing something smaller because you're talking about 12, 15 guys on stage.
Right.
And he thought, man, wouldn't it be nice? He thought we could call it a combo, and it would be a small, the rhythm section, and at the most 3 horns, not 8 or 9 horns, but just 3 horns, and get more or less a flavor. And so Manuel came to talk to me and Rudy, and we said, yeah, okay, we'll try it, da-da-da-da. And Manuel became our very first manager, and he started to run the group, Sunny and the Sunglows. So when we got to playing at Houston, going back to the Houston job at the Pan American in Houston, and ran across Huey Moe and Manny got together on the distribution, and we ran as Sunny and the Sunglows a little bit longer, except that when we got, little by little, as we started to put music together, Manuel wanted for us to take the basic things that we were already playing, the changes and the background music, but slowly start using Spanish words to them. And we were bilingual. We were very
Right.
limited to Spanish words. Our main language was English, and because we were still going to school and stuff. So Rudy and I, we fought. We fought, man. It's just going to be, it won't work, man. It won't work, and it won't work. And I'm glad we listened, and that he actually talked us into it, because from there, we actually started doing the Tejano music.
Right.
You're right. It did not have a name. We didn't know what to call it. It was called, in some places, Chicano music. It was called Tex-Mex.
Tex-Mex.
La Onda music.
Right.
Yeah. And then until we got to Tejano, which was... I
The
think we got you to thank for that.
No, not me.
Well,
you
somebody
actually,
out here, because it wasn't. It wasn't within everywhere else that
I
we
think
were.
you actually have the TTMA to thank for that when they started
You
that
think so?
the Tejano Music Awards, and then all of a sudden you heard radio stations using that.
Well, I wasn't sure, but
yeah.
and they always, of course, everybody tries to claim that it started over here. The word Tejano started over here, but it had to be here.
Yeah,
It had to be here.
It was. It was a good term, and it served its purpose. I don't know that we still need to use it, but it is what it is. People still love it, so I'm good with it. Okay, so now you're doing Tex-Mex, Chicano, and I think the guy who really made the term Chicano music was Little Joe. He made it really popular, and so now you're doing this.
Right.
Personally, did you feel you had more success doing the English or doing the Spanish?
Well, I wanted to pursue. I never ever really dropped either one or
Right.
because I still do both. But it was fun as a teenager with the oldies, and now I'm thankful that I pursued it, because, like I said, I never dropped it. As a matter of fact, I just got back last night from doing a car show in Imperial Valley, California, with a car show and fiesta. It was their 46th anniversary of having this car show. So you in your mind imagine, as far as you can see, cars that were just, I cannot believe these people put like their life, every penny that you could imagine.
And we're talking a buttload of pennies. Tons of money.
It's got to be. And you go from one to the other, and your eyes can't believe. From the one I just saw, oh my God.
And it
but
depends.
Look at this one.
There's restorations, there's resto mods, there's all kinds of cars. And then the lowriders, oh my God, they spend so much money. And you're big now on that scene, the lowrider scene. And you do a lot of shows, like you mentioned, the Stylistics, Little Anthony and the Imperials, that kind of shows. But then you go out and you do your Tejano stuff as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, my original forte was Tejano, and what we started it off was actually right in the very beginning was Cariño Nuevo of Jose Alfredo Jimenez. And just slowly we were kind of building that up, where we didn't know. we knew that the English market, we were not going to be no Elvis Presley or Beatles or anything like that.
Right.
So whatever
and you weren't
came,
going to be
came.
psychedelic either.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And so we didn't know where this was going, but this was kind of growing a little fast. So thanks to Manuel, we just kept concentrating on this. I'm around 70 productions as far as CDs, albums, that kind of thing. So we've done right around, I think we quit counting, around 70. And that's doing either Tejano, oldies, Christmas, gospel. We did, I think, one or two countries that we've done. And so it's kind of kept us alive. Thank God we're bilingual, so we were able to go back and forth a little bit. And because of the R&B roots that we had, we were trying to imitate some of the black artists at the time, and that kind of helped because we didn't realize when we got to the level of Tejano music that we were going to, and we didn't really discuss it. It just kind of fell into place that Tejano music was going to be of a variety of everything that we do that we like.
Right.
And you said it on yourself in your morning shows a lot. Look, man, hey, man, we're Hispanics. We like salsa. We like cumbias. We like boleros. We like slopies.
Yeah.
We like rock and roll. We like it all.
We love it all.
You used to say we love it all, right? So for us, that's what we kind of base what we do as far as Tejano music.
Yeah.
We kept that in mind, So the people get up and you don't want to dance, okay, we'll sit down for a little bit and then you'll dance the next polka or when they play a cumbia, okay, you get up and it's you don't think much about it, but they're going back and forth, and forth.
And you can keep some people on the floor all night long if you give them a cumbia here and then a ranchera, and then if you do some old school,
Right. Uh-huh.
When did the songwriting come into play as far as you and I know that you and a couple other guys wrote Reina de mi Amor, correct?
Yes. It was, thank God, it was there from almost day one. Like I said, I wrote, the first one I ever wrote was Just a Moment, and that was like almost in day one.
Right.
But when I got to doing all the teenage things at La Villita and the Tourist Ballroom and Arthur Murray's and Joe Anthony's shows that we used to have at some of these little places as we were growing up, we noticed that if I wrote one or two, at least for that year, we would stay afloat just another year.
Right.
And then that never really stopped. They just got, before I knew it was another one, and here we are. It's like 63 years later that we have been actually doing basically the same thing, writing and producing and, of course, performing.
Over 6 decades of performances, man.
And that's
writing,
that's a long time.
Songwriting, singing. What presented the bigger problem, writing in English or in Spanish? Because you yourself said you were not proficient in Spanish. So how could you write in Spanish? And that's just a question coming from a dumb jock.
No. What happened is that since I struggled quite a bit, I didn't study the Spanish, but I was paying attention to what I had to learn to pronounce, not even knowing what the word was.
Right.
And slowly, through the years, I picked up a little bit more. Okay, that's what he's saying. Okay, all right. Okay, I'll have to remember that's what that word means. And so slowly but surely, I was taking, when I sat down to write, some of those words would come back, and then I was growing with the language and being able to use them to produce some of the stuff that I wanted to do. Now, one thing that I keep going back at times and catching myself that I'm glad I didn't do, some of the words that I didn't understand and they were just a little too much. At times, it would kind of turn me off a little bit because, gosh, man, he was saying so many nice things through there, and then those 2 or 3 words, I just don't know where and if it turned me off, I figured it'll probably turn off my people too.
Right.
So I always try to stay away from real big words.
Right.
Just something that within the realm of where we live and talk as bilingual.
So in other words, you knew who your audience was. You were catering to them. They spoke like you. So, and you didn't try not dumb the song down, but at least make it to where bring it down to their level of understanding.
Right.
Wow.
Talking about Reina de mi Amor, we started playing down in the valley. Paulino Bernal down in the valley had Monday night jobs that they were playing.
Yeah,
on Mondays.
El baile grande on Monday
Oh, my
at the
gosh.
McAllen Civic Center.
You would think it was a Saturday night promoted for 4 or 5 months.
Dude,
And-
I don't know. I do not understand how people went to work on Tuesday. El baile grande at the McAllen Civic Center was the biggest thing, and that was Paulino's thing, man. And every so often, I love me some Little Joe, but you'd wake up and there's a newspaper, Little Joe arrested for because he was carrying a little of the herb, you know.
Yeah.
I think that happened once, but I was like, wow, okay. But I mean, those bailes were so big.
They were big.
And like you said, it was
On
like
Monday.
a Friday or a Saturday, but it was Monday night, El Baile
Monday
Grande.
night.
I don't know if he got the venue cheaper then or something. I have no idea.
Well, you know, I'm sure you know this. There was a promoter out of Corpus that actually started that. His name was Domingo Peña, and he was the one that started that and put it in Paulino's mind. Why didn't he kind of try that? They were good buddies. And I used to do the Monday jobs too, because what I would use back in the day, I would try to book Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then Monday was a plus, man, because we already had a nice weekend going for us, like saying going towards the valley,
Right.
and then something coming back in again.
Right.
So it really was nice to have like 4 instead of 3, even though we were going back to school, the next.
You know, a lot of people don't give the musicians credit enough, but all those guys always book their gigs and make sure they're in the same area.
Yeah.
And you'd be like Corpus, Rovestown, McAllen,
Kingsville.
Harlingen, or
All right.
Kingsville, or something like that.
Yeah, so it'd be worth their while. Keep their expenses down. I don't know if you folks that are listening knew this, but most of these guys all started from scratch. A lot of them had no training in music at all.
Yeah.
It was all heart and all what they felt, their emotions, everything they studied or thought to them sounded good, they would use it and into their music. But very little can I say that they, well, this guy's got a college degree and this guy's no.
No
Well,
reading and writing music back then.
And
huh?
most of them all started in a little station wagon,
Yeah.
dragging a trailer with just a few.
Well, truth be told,
instruments.
most of them were, farm workers during the week. And
Yeah, I think so.
they'd gig on the weekends,
I think Joel contests to that.
Yeah, and some of the guys would go and during the summer, their big summer tours would be in Idaho, Indiana, Ohio, but that's where they were picking, you know?
Yeah. And they knew all their songs up in there, man, all their songs.
Yeah. It was some good times.
Yeah.
Rough times, but good times, right?
I didn't, yes, as far as what went through, yes. I kind of feel a little bit for the ones that had to really work hard, like Joe, that he had to, I think doesn't he talk about, he also did the picking and all
Yeah.
that. I mean, that's a hard life, man.
Yeah.
Everything I've heard is nothing good, man.
No, nothing good. Yeah,
not at
yeah.
all, not
You're
at all.
pulling this long sack of cotton,
Yeah.
And my mother would get us out there at 4:30, 4:45, 5 in the morning at the latest.
Oh,
And I was like, Mom, what are you doing? In her own, third grade level education, she knew that with the morning dew, the cotton would get wet and it would weigh more. So our first bales, the first sacas de algodón were always soaking wet cotton, and it weighed more. And I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, that third grade really paid off for her.
Yes,
boy.
sir, it did.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think everybody had their trials and tribulations coming up in
that's
their
true.
own way.
Yeah, in their own way, yeah.
So now you're still songwriting.
Okay.
You work for or alongside a lot of songwriters at Freddie, right? And you just had how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 81.
Okay, so last year you were 80. At the tender age of 80, he released an album, La Estrella que Brilla.
La Estrella
correcto?
que Brilla,
All
yes,
right. And it's a great little album.
Thank you.
We churned and burned one of the singles that you released from that one.
Yeah.
It was good. I was surprised, and you still got a lot of energy on stage.
Thank you.
And you perform how many days out of the year? How many weekends?
Well, it all depends. The calls are unpredictable. Either somebody just all of a sudden wants to do something. within just the last week, I think we might have talked to at least maybe 8 to 10 people that in different parts of the country we're planning this, or we have an annual this, and we had Little Joe last year, and he went on and on about you, man. We'd like to bring you up here, and then we think maybe in a couple of years we'll bring Ruben or something.
Yeah.
And so those kind of calls. So it's hard to really say.
And you're
how
playing
much,
some of the casinos, right, as
yes,
well? Yeah, a lot of casinos.
I've got one in front of me that's coming up with Little Joe and I.
Okay.
Together. Yeah.
All right. People may or may not know that Sunny Ozuna was, I think, the first big star, because for our genre, you were a big superstar, who actually did radio in Houston.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I was at a radio station, KYST, and we used to call it Y92. And what happened was I had signed a contract with Freddie Records, and I was between. It was almost over, but not quite, and I couldn't get back in the recording studio because we wanted to go back to our company at the time, and my contract was going to be up. So in that time that we had to lapse, I got the call from Manuel Cruz at KYST, and he says, "Look, man, I've got this idea. I know it sounds crazy, man, and I know you come play for us." I used to play. They used to have a nightclub in Houston called Starlight, and it says, "Man, you pack the place, man. Every single time you come, man." It says, "Would you be interested in working on radio at my little radio station?" It's just a little small station, and I thought, in that time that I'm in between doing nothing. Yeah, you know what? I'll try it. I don't know what the hell I'm going to be doing, but I know who I can listen to get ideas.
Right.
Jonny Ramirez in the morning.
Oh, I doubt that. I doubt that.
When I did come home, man, I was just jotting down little things that you said and things that you played with and all that. So before I knew it, here I am. I've got my good morning girls that had to call me every morning. And I used to hear that little growly voice where they've been up half the night, if you know what I mean. And they would just greet me in the morning in their almost awake voice.
Yeah. ¿Qué pasa, Sally?
And so little things like that I played with, I mean, I am not exaggerating. If you could go back and check, because everything I tell you is true. I mean, you can go back. And we got to a point at KYST where we took the #1 station in Houston. Jokes that I would do, they would do 2 days later at their station. So I know that they were listening to me. And my boss says, whatever you do at the meetings in the morning, he'd say, whatever you do, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Says, if you don't want to listen to because we're supposed to listen semi to other stations to keep yourself more or less online, from what I understood. And I enjoyed not listening to anybody because I could come up with the most stupidest things. And I already had all my Jonny Ramirez things in the morning. So, and I was too far for you would know that I was doing your joke. So I went way over there.
Isn't that the biggest compliment that the competition can pay you? They're using your jokes 2 days later.
Yeah. And a morning listener would call me and say, "Oh, man, by the way, could you dedicate this and this and that?" And yeah, sure, man. I'm going to do it right now. Got it right in front of me. I'm going to do it right now. He'd say, "Oh, by the way, I was listening to that radio station, and you know that guy yesterday said that same joke you said about the shower."
And you need to mention what name you were using on the radio.
Okay, I was using. I had a good friend of mine that was on radio in El Paso, and I thought it was so cool. The name was so cool. Most radio, for those of you who don't know, DJs especially back in the old days, they had their own little kind of a name that everybody knew. You hear that? As funny as it was, whatever it was. Oh no, that's my hero, man. That's him. Well, this guy used to call himself Capitan Sangre.
Okay.
And so I thought
in El Paso.
In El Paso. And of course, again, he's too far from me, right?
Right.
So I used to use La Mañana, Capitan Sangre. I used to do things like, I'm not making this up, John. I used to get some tapes, some little soundtracks. And ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start the Good Morning Show this morning. And we are waiting for Sunny Ozuna, for Capitan Sangre to come in, and you start hearing me walking down the hallway, and then the propellers from helicopters. They say we're having a lot of people outside the building that would like to greet him, and this morning for his show, and so what you hear in the background are helicopters, and we have some police escort that'll bring him in the building, and they're buying all this. They're buying all this stuff, man, and I'm laughing, man. But and then I had all the little sound effects like you did from time to time. It's so funny.
Wolfman got nothing on you, huh?
That was funny. That's funny. I think it was the most fun I've ever had.
Yeah. And so it was you, and they also had Laura Canales en Paz Descanse.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That was amazing, man. That was
Yeah.
amazing to bring her on. Actually, again, it was Manuel's idea, and he says, guess what, man? I got news for you. He says, we're going to bring on Laura Canales. I said, are you serious, man?
Yeah.
At our station? I mean, we're already on fire. Like I said, I wish you could go back. Our salesman, John, our salesman could not sell any more advertisement.
Yeah.
They told him, stop. There was no place in my program to put one cough in there. There's just no room.
What were you running?
So
18 commercials?
Yeah, at least.
19, yeah.
So they'd say, I can sell you time, but it won't be on a commitment basis, because if one of the sponsors was to drop off all of a sudden for whatever reason, then I can squeeze you in there.
Right.
Okay, well, put me on the list. But our salesman loved us, man, because slowly but surely we took over the number one station.
Did they not know how to raise the rates and go up on commercial time?
Well, I don't know. All I know is that all the time was blocked.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened to Laura after a while. Yeah, she was on. I was on at 6 in the morning, 6 to 10, and then Laura came in the
10?
afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, in the afternoon.
In the afternoon.
Yeah. Wow. Must have been a great radio station to hear Sunny in the mornings and Loud in the
Well,
afternoons.
they didn't know who I was.
Right.
So after 2 or 3 years, I remember Manuel telling me, "Have you ever thought about telling them just who you really are?" I mean, I'm sure they already know.
Right.
But I never went crazy playing any of my stuff. I really didn't. It didn't. I was having so much fun playing David Mares and Emilio and everybody else, man, having a good old time. And with my, playing around with the customers and having laughs and all that stuff. I would play one of mine once in a while, and I wouldn't make a big deal of it but of course, I didn't want them to know that.
Yeah, that it was you.
I'm Capitan Sangre, man. That's why.
That's okay, because the DJs like me were having a good time playing all your stuff, man.
Yeah, somebody had my back anyway.
Yeah. Well, good, man. So, okay. So now you're doing shows all across, more in the West Coast. I know you're doing a couple of casinos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're still working. Are you still under contract with Freddie to write music or
no? Not at all. Not
Okay.
at all. Actually, this was many, many years ago when my contract was up when I went to do radio. But after that, we just became good friends, and we did projects together once in a while. We have one that we just terminated recently. We did 15 years of something we call Spirit of Hope.
Okay.
And we write all the Christmas carols for that particular year throughout the whole year. And then on the first Monday of December, on a Monday, we would go to the biggest church in Corpus, and we would sing back to the Lord all the songs that we had written for him that year.
Nice.
So, man, we got into some songs. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
We'd see the little boxes of Kleenex going up and down up and down the pews, because we got pretty serious.
Right. Well, and then what happens when you get Freddie Martinez, Agustín Ramirez, ¿cómo se llama?
Joe Bravo.
Yeah.
Carlos Miranda.
Carlos Guzman. And Sunny Ozuna. What happens? You turn into a legend, and you've got how many Grammys?
With just that one for that year.
Okay.
But it was so exciting because, my gosh, man, I mean, I could not get anywhere close to the airplay that Jimmy Gonzalez and La Mafia were getting at the time, even then. And I mean, one hit after another, boom, 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 boom,
right.
boom. So when they told us, look, man, you guys are nominated, and Freddie said, well, look, we're just going to go for cakes for, the little camera work, if we get any, or whatever we can get out of it. But let's all go. Never in our mind we thought we were going to pick it up that year. at all.
And you did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did pick it up that year. It was, but now I see what it's like when we see in TV when they say, "Johnny, you got the award to get rid of that," and they just kind of like,
It doesn't hit you until, right?
"I'm Johnny."
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you see on TV. That's
Yeah.
what you see on TV. And so now I understand it because they don't expect it at all.
Right.
At all.
Well, it was good, man. I mean,
But it was good.
It was a great project.
It was.
And
It
you've
was.
done a couple of different albums.
Yeah, along the way.
Yeah.
Along the way, we've done quite a few. And we both, of course, I need to say that Freddie's a fantastic writer, too.
Right.
So I've learned a lot from him and watching what he does. And he likes a lot of the stuff I do. So we've actually written a lot of songs together. And we still have fun at it,
Right.
even this late in the game.
By the way, saludos para Agustín Ramirez. I understand he was under the weather here recently.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. Hope he gets back at it. One great guitarist and a heck of a vocalist in his own right. One of them was without Joe Bravo, right? One of the Legends albums.
Yes,
And
one
then
of
the
them
other
was.
one was.
And then, of course, we had Carlos Miranda. And then there was only Carlos Guzman, Agustin, Freddie, and myself.
Right.
Toward the end.
Right. So, any more thoughts about doing that kind of stuff, or
Well, it's not going to be up to Freddie. Actually, Freddie finances the whole thing, and if he wants to do it, he knows he can count on us if he wants to. I've actually gone here lately back into my own record company, which is Key Lock Records, and we're kind of concentrating on that. And my oldest son, David, is actually running the company, him and my two granddaughters, and they're doing a fantastic job, and they're really working hard. So.
now I know that nowadays Joe has managed somehow to get all his music back, and it's all under his label. It all belongs to him. How about you? Do you have the rights to all your music now, or most of it?
Of everything that I actually wrote for Freddie off and on since like I said, we've done projects before. I've written maybe about 300 songs that I have sold to Freddie. Everything else, even from day one to where we are now, I wrote, I think, half of El Cancionero and half of La Estrella que Brilla. And those are still, of course, belong to us, to our record company. Yeah.
But what about the early stuff like Cariñito and,
Yes,
all of
we
that
still-
belongs to you?
Thank God, all of the hit records still belong to us.
Well, not to say that Una Estrella que Brilla is not a hit, or, but I mean the early stuff.
Yeah, no. Thank God we kept those. We kept those. Reina mi amor, cariñito. A lot of those. Yeah, we kept them.
El chiflido, el chiflado, el chiflido, yeah.
chiflidito,
El chiflidito,
El
yeah.
chiflido.
So many
Siempre
songs.
que paso por tu casa, al cielo de tu ventana, me
Míralo.
pongo yo.
So there was a time there when you were having some medical issues. First, it was the ticker, and then you were having some vocal issues.
Right. Well, I developed over this year, before my heart problems, I had built, I was trying to imitate a lot of R&B artists, and one of them in particular that did a lot of damage was James Brown when he was in his, when he was at his height.
At his peak, yeah.
Yeah, at his peak. So not an easy thing to do. And being young, of course, you think you're not damaging. But I eventually, over time, developed what they call nodules on the vocal cord. So they had to pull them apart and then go in with a scalpel, real easy, and actually cut them off with microscopes. and cut
Okay.
'em off. So I was out of circulation for about 5 to 6 months. So I was just making little notes and
And it worked.
And
I
when
mean,
you're a talker-
you actually, your wife was in heaven.
She really was. She really was. But of course, I used a lot of paper, so
Yeah.
that's all right. That's what it took, and then slowly, I guess, like everything else, we're getting up there. We're all getting up there. All you baby boomers, now that I understand life a whole lot better at this age.
Hey, what doesn't
I
hurt
know-
doesn't work, right?
Right. I know that, listen, baby boomers, we're all numbers, and we're all very close in line now, and it just depends on, be careful, because it just depends what number is called next.
Yeah.
Because
So-
that's kind of how I feel.
Remember when you were young, they put you to bed, you hated going to bed at 9. Now you look forward to going to bed at 9.
That's true.
Yeah, it's like the They say 40 is a new 30, 50 is a new 40, and 9 o'clock is a new midnight for us. So let me go to sleep now. But you're still out there, man. I mean,
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to get you to retire because I still love what I do, and I'm an old geezer.
Yeah.
So I mean, you don't have any plans to retire anytime soon.
Not really. The only thing is that 81s, I see so many of my friends that are not with us anymore because they're right around 80. I think you need to really start looking at a good look at your life, because if there's a time where you need to clean up, it's not a bad time to start about that time, because it just, to me, it seems like 81, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 right in there. I'm losing a lot of my friends.
Right. But when you say clean up, do you mean clean up health-wise, medically?
No, their overall lives. I think that's the most important, because all the rest of it ain't going to really help you too much. You just want to make hopefully that you'll go to a good place.
Okay.
But kind of, I think we've made a million mistakes, man. We all have.
Yeah.
And
but see, I'm from the school where I've seen a lot of my friends, and we're quite a few years back that retired. And they retired, and they passed on, a year or two afterwards, and I'm like, well, I'm not ready to retire. And I think that's when people, they lose their ability to think, to do, to walk, to whatever, and they become couch potatoes, and before you know it, they're gone.
Yeah, they're done. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm glad to see guys like you, like Ruben, like Little Joe, like Roberto Pulido, although he's retiring this year, still doing it, because that keeps you active, that keeps your mind active, and it's good to still see you guys out there. Every so often, Sunny's got a brand new one. Okay,
Yeah.
So that to me it speaks volumes. And whenever it's time to pasar la bandera.
Yeah.
I guess there's somebody there, but
we
in the
will.
in the meantime, I mean, if you guys can still do it, and if you still have the love, the passion for it, why not?
I think we're like you, John. You were just saying about your career in radio and all that. I believe in that. Do it as long as you can. But I'm sure we're going to know when the day's going to come when you're going to say, either I want to stop here, or I wish that in the back of my mind, I wish that I could stop at least maybe a couple of years before I really have to, and just try to enjoy life a little bit, because since my life has been going from city to city, all the traveling and the hotels and airplanes and bad food, and you can imagine, you couldn't tell it by the way I look, but I did say bad food, but all of those.
But Sonny, that Whataburger tasted so good at 3 o'clock in the morning,
and it's the only place open, dude.
Well, that and maybe a chicken place or two. But I mean, and that's what he means by bad food. It's just bad for your health, because it tastes real good, okay?
Especially going down at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I think that deep down inside, we all want to leave like Michael Jordan with 6 championships. He left on top of the mountain, man.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to do that. But realistically, I think, a lot of us, I don't know. We just hold on to I'm still having fun. I still have a passion for it. So why not?
Yeah.
I still, as we call in radio, I still like to post that song where you stop right there, and I was like, that's right, baby. I can still post a record.
Or for them to say, that song wouldn't have had a chance if Jonny Ramirez hadn't been playing that damn thing. I mean, he played it to where I didn't want to hear it anymore. But it's a hit, man. It's a hit.
Hey, they say a hit's a hit's a hit,
That's it.
And it doesn't matter if it was 50 years ago, 5 minutes ago, a hit's a hit. And if you play the hell out of it, people will love you, and they'll love the song even more.
It helps the song quite a bit, too.
Yeah, it does. So, because I know that, when you were working with Freddie, you were, you were also trying to do some, artist, what do they call it, A&R?
Yes.
Yeah. And you'd go out with the artists, and you'd bring the records along for a little bit. You did that, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did. We actually had, Freddie has, of course, his company is based out of Corpus. And at the time, he had a small office in L.A., and then he wanted something else in the state of Texas. and we were actually, we didn't make a big noise about it. There was a songwriter que se llamaba Luis Silva that we both know as a very good friend.
En paz descanse, yeah.
En paz descanse, yeah. But and for those of you that might just happen to hear the name here and there, he wrote some of Mas's biggest hits, La Mafia, Ram. I mean, the list just goes on.
Yeah, Borracho de Besos.
This is what amazes me.
Borracho de Besos for La Fiebre, yeah.
Amor Querido, Allah,
Yeah.
so for all these guys. And would you believe? And I don't mean this in a bad way, but Luis couldn't carry a tune if he wanted to. but
He needed a bucket, and even
he
then,
it to the right person,
Yeah.
and boom,
Yeah.
the song would go.
He could write a song.
He could write a song.
Yeah,
He could write a song, yeah.
Yeah.
So Luis and I were running Freddie's company, his little office
In
here
Corpus.
in San Antonio.
Oh, in San Antonio.
So
Okay.
now he had one in Corpus, San Antonio, and LA.
LA,
And
okay.
that's how he kept all his artists moving. So we would work on Ramon, on Jimmy Gonzalez, everybody, Jaime, everybody that was in the company. And as soon as the records came out, we make sure that the radio stations had them, and then the
Set up the
DJs out in the
interviews.
streets had copies of them to make sure they were spinning them, and people were asking for it. And that kind
All right. So we've got Fiesta coming to San Antonio. Are you going to be performing anywhere during Fiesta?
The only thing I have is April 29th. I'm at the New Beer Depot here out on the south side. But that's the only thing. I didn't want this year to really participate in anything because I actually have a little too much work, and I thought, gosh, man, I don't want to kind of load myself down too much. So
Okay.
I passed up a couple of things that I could have partaked in, but I said no, maybe next year.
So the 29th at the Beer Depot. That's the new one, right? It
Yes.
opened just recently,
Out there.
about 6 months ago, something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
brand new. It's on the south side. So, and I'm not using my group. I'm actually using La 45 on that particular one. So it's going to be fun. It's
Well,
going to be fun.
you just performed with La 45 for Henry recently, right?
Yeah. And we sold that out. That was at the
That thing was sold out like 6 months ago. Before Henry
At the
sells out his
El
shows.
Sopar- El Sopar's
Shrine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was you. It was Emilio Guerrero, ¿verdad?
Yeah. Pepe Marquez.
Yes, Pepe out of Cali. He does a lot of the low and slow low rider shows as well, right?
Shows,
yeah.
And Aviso out of Houston.
And that's another band you perform with,
Yes,
Aviso out of Houston,
I do,
right?
I do.
Now,
I actually perform with the Latin Express out of Fort Worth.
Yeah, Fort Worth.
Aviso out of Houston. We do here and there jobs with La 45, and then I've got my own orchestra. And sometimes it's better that way, so I don't run my guys 100% of the time. And I know it's difficult for them because, like I said, we're all getting slowly up in age, and so I kind of spread it out. And for me, that I'm kind of hyper anyway, I can kind of spread myself a little bit more and still make the commitments that need to be.
well, and a lot of guys, truth be told, at their age, priorities have shifted, and they don't really want to gig a lot. If it's here in town, they'll help you out. But if it's in Dallas, you got, like you said, Latin Express, and Houston, Aviso. Aquí you got La 45. So it all works.
Yeah,
and
it
all
does.
these, they're all monster musicians in all three bands, man.
Good
Yeah.
musicians. Good musicians. Yeah.
All right. So again, the 29th at the Beer Depot, Mr. Sunny Ozuna. And man, stay in touch, man.
I will.
Yeah.
I'd love to do this again.
Yeah.
Well,
Heck
we'll do
yeah.
so.
We can do this again.
Go back in time.
Go back in time. Because, I mean, there's so many stories that we didn't even touch on, man. So many
there is a
Sunny
lot.
Ozuna
There's a lot to
stories.
talk about.
Yeah.
A lot to talk about.
I mean, just Capitan Sangre, you know, and the fact that you thought you were going to be bigger than Superman when you got to San Antonio,
And
ni
zero.
moscas.
Ni las moscas, right? And let me just say that we're on all platforms. I'm on something like one day we kind of took a little bit of a touch of what's really going on, and we're like on 6,000 websites. So
Wow.
we're doing the Instagram, the Amazon, the Spotify, all of them. There you can actually find something.
Facebook. Okay,
all of
I
them.
know you're not doing that. You've got
My son is
okay.
actually, and my two granddaughters.
okay.
So
How old is your son now?
he is 58,
Wow. Okay.
and that's my oldest.
Okay. And
I had
they're
four,
his daughters.
I had four boys.
Really?
Yeah, 4 boys. One of them is in Midland, working the oil fields. One is doing choreography for gymnastic teams to compete, and the other one is in Dallas. In Dallas, so
Wow.
they're all doing well. They're all doing well. And when
Nobody-
they don't call me for money, I know they're okay.
So nobody wanted to do music, huh?
Well, what happens is that my David, my oldest, has been my drummer for many times.
Okay.
Took me out of a lot of problems. My second son, Rudy, is a keyboard player, so he played with us for a while.
Okay.
The other 2 boys started trumpet when they were first going into high school, but it didn't hold their interest. So, but that's as far they got.
All right. They decided they wanted real jobs with real money,
With
huh?
real money, every week money.
and not to get fined if they didn't wear the right shoes.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, they know.
Man, Sonny, it's been a hoot. I appreciate your time, sir,
thank
and
you.
just coming in here and reliving some of the golden days. And you still got a lot of gas in that tank left,
Yeah,
man.
I hope so. I hope
Yeah.
so. I hope so.
Your
And
ticker's fine?
And I'm going to run till I'm empty.
And your ticker's fine, right?
Yeah, for now.
Okay,
For now,
all right.
yeah, for now.
You staying away from all that bad food? No more chorizo con frijol or papas?
No,
or,
I'm still doing it.
Oh, you're still...
I just cut down a little bit.
Hey, my doctor said moderation, everything in moderation. So it's like, okay. I moderately drank a bottle of tequila this weekend, sir. I timed myself between the shots. But no, I mean, it's amazing how, I guess the older we get, the more we care about our health. So we know, okay, I'm going to have one. I'm going to have one taco.
Yeah.
Like Joe. Joe eats corn tortillas,
Yeah.
because they're better for him because of his diabetes and
Right.
stuff. And you the same way. I mean, you've lost weight from the last time I saw you.
A little bit. A little bit.
Or you got bigger clothes.
But I did. Yeah. That could be. I did notice that I changed sizes.
Yeah.
But no, it's like you say. We have to kind of slow down a little bit because it'll come get us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, que Dios te guarde muchos años más.
Thank you.
Continue cranking out the hits, continue cranking out the shows. And nowadays, he wears a tapita,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
How many of those hats have you got, man? You got...
I must have at least 50 hats.
Really?
At least, yeah. Well, depending on what colors I'm using and coordinating.
And he is very colorful, okay?
Yeah. For
Nowadays,
sure,
you've
for
gotten
sure.
very colorful. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
damn, I don't know if he's playing golf or if he's...
I like to just add one thing, if
Yes,
I may,
sir.
John.
Yes, sir.
I am working on something, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but
Well, then why didn't you bring it up?
because I gotta lay the groundwork.
Okay.
I'm gonna call it the Sunny and the Sunliners experience. So I can't tell you very much after that, but I would like to just kind of be on the lookout for that. It's looking more like maybe around May or June, but it's going to be something a little bit different for Sunny and the Sunliners. It's going to be called Sunny and the Sunliners Experience.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind me asking, how many of the Sunliners original are still with us?
I have two.
Two.
Chris Gomez and Leo Guerrero. One is doing 27 years, and the other one is doing 30.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are life sentences, man.
Yeah, it is for this kind of a life. Yeah.
And they're still with us. Good for
Yeah.
them, man. Yeah. Because we've lost a few along the way.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
And some good people and good musicians.
Yeah. I know we lost, I think Rudy was lost during the COVID, right?
Yeah, he did.
En paz descanse, ¿verdad? But man, I was, every so often I get in a Jonny mode, and I pour myself a tequila and I turn on my iPod and the speaker, and I start to listen to some Sunny, and it always puts me in a good mood. Always. Without a doubt, I'm like, okay, it worked.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. You want another tequila? No, I'm good. I had me a tequila, a cigar, and some Sunny Ozuna, so it's all good.
I'm good to go.
All right. Sonny, again, we thank you sinceramente, my
John.
brother. You're welcome here anytime.
Thank you.
Next time you got a project or when this, Sunliner experience comes to fruition,
Okay.
come back and join us and
Love
tell
to do
everybody.
that. I'd love to do that.
And, if you guys want to stand in the corner and do a little doo-wop number, you're more than welcome.
Thank you so
That
much.
would be
Thank you.
such a kick, man.
Yeah,
That would
it
be.
would. It would.
It would be awesome, man.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
All right. Sunny Ozuna, ladies and gentlemen, we thank him from the bottom of our heart. This portion of the Radio Guys podcast being brought to you as a service of AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121. If you ever get in a situation where you need to get bailed out of jail, our good friend Albert, or compadre Albert, his great staff will get you out. Open 24/7, oficinas throughout San Antonio, and one number to call, whether it's the Valley, Dallas, El Chuco Town, Houston, and Domegnoliase, all points in between. It's 210-225-2121. Nobody beats your price. Payment plans available. A free shuttle, and my favorite, discretion, the name of the game, because if you're in jail, nobody but you and, your significant other needs to know about it. If it's a family member, you can always start the bonding process at mybestbailbonds.com. That's mybestbailbonds.com. License number 149, AA Best Bail Bonds at 210-225-2121. Tell them you heard it right here on the Radio Guys podcast. Y una vez más, nos despedimos de Mr. Sunny Ozuna. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Look at him, man.
Thank you.
I thought you were going to wear one of those, nifty little hats.
I started to, but I said, next time.
Next time. All right. Looking like the Untouchables.
There you go.
Elliot Ness.
There you go.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having tuned in. All the opinions and, whatever I was saying here on this show are those of us, Jonny, Ramirez, and Mico. Opinions and comments do not reflect those of our employers, people that we work with or alongside with, and strictly those of us, demented, sick people that do this podcast, all right? Colorín colorado, este show se ha acabado, ya luego con el tubo, se acabó el toothpaste, some assembly required, subject to change, TTNL and batteries not included. And that's it, ya luego con el tubo. Peace and taco grease.
The Radio Guys podcast powered by AA Best Bail Bonds at 210-225-2121. Oficinas throughout San Antonio open 24/7. Stress-free bail bonds at 210-225-2121. The Radio Guys podcast powered by AA Best Bail Bonds at 210-225.